What is up? So I am back on the shelves today, and I was just I had some questions about some of the tools, and I figured I'd go about just kind of the basics of floating shelves, tips. This is a project that's really popular right now, and I know a lot of DIYers watch the channel, and I'm gonna add some tips just to make your life easier. Floating shelf would be a good project. You don't really need a lot of tools or skills. It's not as hard as someone would think. I'm not sure if anybody's on, be sure to comment down below. I'm just gonna start covering tools and techniques. I guess first we'll start with your framing. Here, it's just 2x4 framing, 2-foot centers. Nothing crazy. I anchored into every stud. The nice thing about going 2-foot centers is then you'll be offset from where your wall studs are. So that's something you always want to consider, is go map out your studs and then build according when you're laying out. So because also like where you're going to terminate the end of your shelves, you want to be sure and have a stud relatively close to the end, so you're not hanging out into no man's land. One thing I would advise against is doing shelves, or more for a beginner, but doing shelves coming out of a corner like that, like making an L. I would advise against that. It's a little bit tricky to get them to meet. Originally, I was going to try to miter it, from this point. But after talking to kind of one of my mentors, he's like, oh, you'd be crazy. It'd be so much work. One thing that I realized I messed up, I should have brought my biscuit joiner. And if you would put biscuits in this area, that would really help with alignment, because right now I'm having to take a chisel and make sure the framing is, just absolutely perfect. But if I had biscuits, I could make sure and flush up the tops. How's it going? So if that makes sense, like in this corner, where you could use biscuits for alignments, that would have really made it a lot simpler. Also the sizing, if you're framing, you want to measure your framing. Sometimes it can be a 1/16 under. If you go exact, you're going to have to chamfer the very back side that's going to slide on. Here I oversized mine an 1/8, which I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see in the inside of your shelf, if you go exact, you're going to have to take like the router bit, 45-degree chamfer bit, and it's super simple, but you just run it along the inside. Because anytime, if you're framing or building these really tight, how's it going? Getting these started is going to be a challenge. And especially on your longer floating shelves, like my other run is 8 foot, and they're very heavy, and getting them started is kind of difficult. So by chamfering and easing this inside edge, it allows you to kind of slide it on and get it started. Once you get it started, then you just obviously push. Not so bad. But on a few of them, they're so tight, even with being oversized, that they're really hard to start. Another thing is be sure and set your table saw at 45.5. That way the outside of that miter comes together really tight. Also use Tight Bond Type 3. It's thinner, longer working time as far as when you're gluing these up. And then I also used a 23 gauge pinner to kind of manipulate anywhere that it wasn't lining up just perfect, because you're using clear tape so you can see. So you can kind of manipulate this miter fold and put a few pins in it, and a 23 gauge is small enough that you're not going to see it. So yeah, these are all finished in Rubio, which I'm a big fan of Rubio wood finish to match this table top. But it's kind of a bummer because this obviously does not quite match. I don't know if there's that much inconsistency in the batches of Rubio, or it's the fact that this is plywood. So this is all finished, but I am gonna touch it up with, I'll go grab the product and show you because I really like it. It adds a little bit of sheen to Rubio. Okay, so this is the universal maintenance oil. Even in the maintenance oil, you have to make sure, I use pure, so that's no sort of stain added or colorant added. But this product's super easy to apply. You just trowel it out, buff it, and it does add a little bit of sheen. There's another product that you can get from Rubio because their oil plus 2C is like a matte finish. This, I would say, is not quite satin, but it's a little closer. They have one more step up from this that I would say is a full-on satin, kind of glossy, which I kind of want to buy and try on a few projects. But like I said, so I'm hoping after I get these installed, any little dings, touch up, whatever, hit it with this. I hope to get it as close as possible to the table here. And then another cool product if you're using Rubio is the Surface Care Spray Kit to clean. You don't want to use anything that cuts oil because it's an oil finish. Typically I just use water. So far this tabletop probably been in here a month and it's held up well. It doesn't get as much use as like a kitchen table would, because that's the next project I'm going to use it on, is a table, and I'm a little nervous. But the nice thing about Rubio is it's super easy to touch up if you would have something happen to it. One of the key things to get good results, like when you're coming into a wall, to be able to scribe, is like a stair jig. I'm not sure what the correct term is. Collins Tool Company had the original. This is an Amazon knockoff. It comes with multiple attachments depending on what width you need. One end is adjustable. I think it's an 8-inch adjustment, so you can drop it in like if you're doing stairs. Push it out to the wall, tighten it down, back you up so you can see a little better. But this I have linked in my Amazon store. It was around $100. It packs up in a little case, which is nice. With all the attachments, it's easy, it's intuitive. It's got these stops that mount to your edge. They're also magnetic, so they stay right on the tool. Very well built. I'm pleasantly surprised with it. Whereas a Collins tool, kind of the original, you just cut a scrap 1x, and it's got like 2 wide blades on it. But you can see here's the case. for all your attachments and adjustments. And here is the brand. But there's a ton of companies now that make these. This one to me looked like to be the best design. Trying to think what else I could cover. Someone asked how much weight they hold. I was standing on them just as I was building them. I don't know why. You see a lot of people do that in projects just to kind of give it the old weight test. But they're going to be for supplements. The 3/4 plywood is going to add a lot of substantial weight to them. So I might end up having a welding shop weld up like a piece of metal in that corner and have one piece. Also, I think what would be super cool is to do like a library ladder on the top rung. And from what I researched, it looked like it was basically a barn door hardware and a ladder at a slight, maybe 15-degree angle. So that might be something eventually, because that top shelf is even high for me and I'm 6'2". So, but yeah, other tools that I think are kind of, for one, you definitely want one of these when you're coming into a wall, I think. Spend the $100. If you are on a tighter budget, $8 little compass or scribe. I mean, you can make this work. If you're on an even tighter budget, a carpenter's pencil will work. But I like tools, so. But yeah, I figured after seeing there was like 800 views on that last live stream, I figured maybe on a Sunday if I jump on, people would be on. I always like chatting with people, seeing what's going on, where you're from. But I'm not sure if it updates live. The mobile live stream's kind of a little wonky. But yeah, I'm gonna get to work. I think I covered everything I forgot to add. Oh, and I'll reiterate again, go check out Clovis DIY. His name is Pat. Makes a phenomenal tool belt. Yeah. Nicholas, what's going on? But the tool belt is Clovis project. I would check my phone, but you guys are, I'm recording on that right now. But his tool belts are phenomenal. Hammer holster sleeve. It's basically all the best features of the Diamondback like I'm wearing right now. But the belt is far superior. He spent a lot of time. Yep, building shelves. Some floating shelves. Got the last two to put up. And that last one's gonna be a trick. I'm getting my wife to come down to get them on because they're 3/4 plywood, so they're heavy. But with the Clovis tool belts, I really think he's probably gonna be the next big competitor to Diamondback because he is a carpenter as well. So like all the flaws from wearing a tool belt day to day. Vinyl records. These wood, I was standing on these and another person asked, I weigh 200 pounds. Framed on 2-foot centers. I bought Doug fir framing just because I knew they would have some weight. And the one most critical aspect, I think, is using GRK fasteners because GRK is actually rated for structural loads. If you look on the back, they're more expensive, but so they're all fastened with, I believe these are 5/16. I can go get the box. but they have a nice big like pan head, washer head. But make sure and pre-drill into your studs before you run these bigger ones in. And then GRK makes a number 10 3 1/8 framing screw. So they're all screwed together with these. And then into the studs, I use those timber screws or legs, whatever they're called. But by the time you do that, and then if it's in your home where they're permanent, I would use some PL Premium on the inside before you slide them on. Put a little on the inside. These are temporary because this isn't a business, so we're eventually going to pull them out when we move. So the only way I'm fastening these is with trim-headed screws. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, like you see, I've seen a lot of contractors over the years like that I worked for. They would use like a deck screw or your standard cheap construction screw in framing, or I've seen guys use it on trusses and stuff, and I'd always shake my head like, you're not supposed to use those. You gotta buy, I think Simpson Strong Tie also came out with some framing screws that look good. But I've just always used GRK for years. I love them. That's primarily, you know, just what I buy. These are the trim head screws that I'm using, just as temporary, or not temporary, but just get them to stay down. They're tight enough, I probably don't need them. But like I said, this is my wife's business, so in 5 years, we're gonna have to pull everything out. So I'm not doing like a permanent installation. Yeah, that's a tight fit. Man, this one, I'm not sure why. If the framing was just a little thicker in spots, but that one was a bear to get on. This is about right, about the perfect tension. Super tight, but it doesn't kill you to get it on. And what really helps with that, I covered it earlier, is when you're mitering the corners to go 45.5, and like I just have a contractor saw, so you have to buy one of those magnetic angle finders, put it on your blade, go to 45, and then crank it past 0.5 degrees. And by over beveling it, you ensure the outside of your miter meets, and then it also tapers the back end of your shelf to give you like a pressure fit. Oh, I know. That's like an old, I'm 34, and I feel like that's like an old timer thing. They had like all the guys I worked for, they'd just grab whatever cheap screw with a Phillips head. What's going on, Wild Bill? How are you doing? But yeah, and that always drove me nuts, especially like on roofs. You're framing a roof and using composite deck screws, or, you know, framing a wall in your basement. You see guys just use whatever. Good to hear. You get your chores done? But yeah, it is satisfying when you slide those on after scribing them and it actually fits. Because that has been in this project the most challenging thing, is because with the thickness of these shelves, I can't cut them in my miter saw, and cutting the ends with the track saw and getting those cuts to line up. That is another thing I'll add. So I have a Milwaukee track saw, and I would not recommend the Milwaukee track saw, even though I'm a huge Milwaukee fan. My good buddy, he's got a DeWalt track saw, and that thing is far superior. You can cut off each side of the track. No, so I left the fire service at 23. I was a fireman and got into construction, building spec houses, 24. Worked for a few different builders for 6 or 7 years. And then I've been out on my own basically right before COVID. So 3-4 years. But just always loved working with my hands. My family farms, so I grew up working on the farm and doing a little bit of kind of construction, but never anything, professionally until I was 24 and absolutely fell in love with it. I've always loved tools and just found construction super rewarding. And as I progress, now I'm getting into more of like custom woodworking. And that's just another area where I'm when I find something I like, I go all in and want to know everything about it. So I'm really starting to do more of kind of your finish work and loving it. But I love everything about construction, all the different aspects of it, from, like framing to finished carpentry. I really like wood finishing and painting too, which I'm novice at that, but I love it. How about you? You a carpenter, Nicholas? What's going on, Mike? Oh, I know. I just bought, I was showing this tool earlier, or on the last live. But this has been a lifesaver on this project, getting those two different shelves in that corner to match up. Basically a stair jig tool. But I linked it in my Amazon store. But this little thing has been a beast. My first M12. Oh, cool. That's awesome. But I was kind of nervous. I wanted a barrel grip jigsaw, and I was waiting for the M18 to come out. And when it came out, I don't know if any of you guys have handled the M18 barrel grip, but it's like so big and unwieldy that you can't even run it upside down one-handed like this. So I finally broke down and bought the M12, and I freaking love this thing. This is like one of the most well thought out, well designed Milwaukee tools. It's got a light. You got your orbital action. The blade change out is super easy. It's got a real positive connection for your thumb. It's got a dial on the back for your speed, and the Allen wrench storage is actually really good. It's just right in here. And then when you set your bevel, it's got like positive stops where you slide this down, turn it to like 15 degrees and lock it back up. So it's like previous jigsaws, you're kind of eyeballing it and moving it around. But yeah, this thing's got plenty of power, which using a jigsaw, you're usually only using it to kind of finish up cuts or, maybe scribing something. So this has had plenty of power. You can run it one-handed at odd angles, super easy because it's nice and light. I've been running the 3.0s in it, and they do last really well. Also, it's got a little blower, which is cool to blow away from your cut line. You can turn it on. Yeah, the pack out cups are nice. It's really cool that you can lock them into you too, so you don't spill your coffee. Oh, I just bought a hard pad for my Festool, the ETS EC 150. I put a hard pad on that thing, and man, that changes the whole experience. I have not, the palm hammer. Is it the Milwaukee palm sander, or like a palm nailer? Yeah, I thought that blower feature, it actually works pretty good. Oh, and another cool feature is, so the non-marring shoe pops off, and you can keep 2 blades in there, which one just fell out, but it's actually a pretty positive fit in there, because I always lose my jigsaw blades because I don't need a jigsaw very often, and when I do, it seems like I gotta buy a new pack of blades because I lost them. I have not. M12 palm hammer, I'll have to check that out. Is that like for doing decks when you need to put in those Tico nails? And Bill, what projects you working on? I was going to ask you, Bill, what do you think of Rubio? The wood finish. Painting? Are you a Sherwin-Williams guy, or what's your favorite? What's your brand? One of my buddies that's a painter, he just switched to, I think, PPG, because Sherwin prices have gotten so high. But I'll give a sneak peek at the next video that I'm working on editing, is the floor in here. So this was a herringbone lay with loose lay flooring. I did a herringbone in the main foyer and then just straight laid it in the offices. But I finally did a flooring video because I've been meaning to do one of those. Just a LVT glue down product. But it was a real challenge getting up the carpet in here that was glued down. That was a nightmare. It took me like a week to scrape it with a floor scraper. Not one of the funnest things I've done. But yeah, basically I've been filming, building these shelves, that flooring, a few other projects, and I finally got a new computer so I can edit it all. So I'll get back to posting videos soon. Oh yeah, when you're nailing on boxes, especially because studs tend to bounce. That is kind of tricky, but I bet that you can fly getting boxes on. Nice. Yeah, I know PPG has some cool products like that Sickens deck stain. That used to be like the best finish there was for decks, but I think they reformulated the product because it seems like no one really cares for Sickens anymore. You'll have to let me know what you think of Rubio if you try it. I really like it just because you can apply it in like not a dusty environment, but it's not as critical. You know, if particulates hanging in the air. Yeah, Benjamin Moore, that is another one. Their super paint, I've used that, and man, that comes out like glass. The Sickens door and window poly. Is that oil-based or water-based? I've been seeing a lot of people switching to water-based products. It's got me interested because I feel like those would be a little easier to get on. So this is another tool that I purchased recently that has actually saved my rear end many times working by myself. I think it's got a 400 pound, or maybe it's 300 pound load rating. But a lot of times I'll just cut a stud, cut a 2x4 to whatever length I need. And then there's roughly 13 inches where you can jack it up. So for like setting cabinets by yourself, if you need to get an appliance up, even when I was framing the framing on these floating shelves, excuse me, by myself, I could adjust, where it needs to be right on. Well, I'm the boss and the employee, so I'm just a one-man band. Like I said, 34 in business for myself. I would like to grow, but I'm actually thinking of transitioning into like building biology. If anybody's ever heard of that, it would tie in nice with my wife's medical practice. Building biology is really big in like Germany. That's where it originated, but it's big in Europe. And it's basically like dealing with non-native EMF, how you can proof your home to protect the family. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice being, not having to worry about employees or, managing different personalities. But it's definitely hard on the body. You got to get creative a lot of days. But yeah, I would like to get more into, the finish carpentry and building custom pieces. Be a little easier on the body. But that, and then also building biology where you're kind of working to manage the health of a home and structure. How about you? You said you're a master electrician, Nicholas. Are you self-employed or have your own company? Hey, Bill, aren't you in the Northeast or on the East Coast? What's the deal with all those drones out that way? I just seen that on Twitter last night. They were talking about all these drones, and the government is not telling people what the deal is. So, where was it? Have you heard about all those drones? Maybe it was in, was it New Jersey? But the clips I seen, they look huge. Nice. Yeah, that was one post I seen someone say the dude was like a hillbilly in Alabama, and he's like, "You'll never see drones here," and he was out there with a shotgun or something. We had a bunch of drones in Nebraska. It was right before COVID, and they were huge, and it was super weird because we never got any answers. They were flying over a bunch of farms, and they were literally like the size of a car. And they were, because we have a family friend that lives on a farm, and he said he was going to shoot it down, but I think that might be a bad idea. Nice. Gosh, I am not the guy as far as business. I struggle with all that. But things that have really helped me are the Contractor Fight podcast, Tom Reber. They also have a really good Facebook group. I'll try to link it maybe at the end of this. But so the Contractor Fight by Tom Reber. The Facebook group is phenomenal because it's a bunch of contractors helping each other business-wise. That one's free. I really like Alex Hormozy. He's kind of a younger guy, just like business-wise, marketing, What else? Dan Kennedy, he's tied in with, I forget his name, but Dan Kennedy's like an old school marketing guru. And I bought his audiobook this summer, and it's actually really good, really interesting. He's a cool guy. Really? The last tool I showed? What tool was it? The stair tool? Bill, if you go to my page, like on About Me, there's a Amazon store, and I literally have every tool in there. I'll try to link it on here, but I don't know for sure on live streams where I can link it. But yeah, Nicholas, I listen to podcasts a lot, and there's so many, great businessmen that put out all the tips and tricks. And so that is kind of what I've done, is just listening. I think embracing social media is a huge plus for guys our age. Putting stuff on your Instagram. Also educating homeowners, making something geared towards, either preventing electrical fires, geared towards like an end user, a wife or a husband. When I was in the fire department, we had seen so many structure fires that were due to electrical, and it was because people, either not knowing, not checking an extension cord, running a undersized extension cord to like a space heater. But even things like where you can add value like that and explain things at a level because you're the authority on all things electrical. I think doing all those little things really make a big difference, and it helps you build that trust. And then also that you're an expert. And, I think that's a huge, huge thing. But yeah, well, I got to get this wrapped up today. I got essentially 4 left to set. But it was good talking to you, Bill. I'm going to try to start doing live streams more often, just because I love talking to people, seeing where everybody's from, what they do. It's just cool. Super cool. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's always good talking to you. I might start doing it like a regular thing. I don't know what would work best for everybody. Maybe like once a week at night and just talk tools, talk business. Because I always love talking to guys from all over the country. There's a few guys that usually hop on that are, I think one's in Sweden, and another guy is somewhere else in Europe. But yeah, well, and that's why if I did it regularly and like had some good topics to cover where we could all kind of chat and go over some things, I think that would be cool. Because there are a lot of guys like you that are, expert painters, that are electricians. So many guys have their different specialties. So it'd be cool to come together and, either talk about, hey, I got a question on what I should do here. Or most guys run their own business as well. So, going that route, talking business, marketing, what you tried that, like when I first started, I tried that Angie's List. And man, I know they're in a lawsuit right now, but it was so corrupt. They would send you leads that were bogus. You'd shut it off. They'd run your card. It was a nightmare. But to try to save, younger guys on, hey, I tried this didn't work. Make sure and don't do this. But yeah, hey, it was good talking to you guys. I don't know. Today's Sunday. maybe someday this week we'll try to do another one when everything's all done, and I'll show the finished product. And I got some cool tools in the wood shop that I kind of want to highlight in the process of doing this. Yeah, we'll do. I know you can make a post in YouTube, so I'll try to post a few days ahead, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, you guys have a good Sunday. Nice. Well, Bill and Nicholas, it was good talking to you. Hope you guys have a good week, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.